So I am glad all of you are here. I won't try to list people, but I appreciate you coming. And now I'd like to introduce our lady of the day, Jenni Kirby. She's the host and speaker and the founder and CEO and innovator behind Crossroads Art Center. But she's a lot more also. First of all, she's an accomplished artist. Does some beautiful work, mosaic works using tile, but she's also a business leader. In 2016, when we were last at the Art Center, she was named that year by the Retail Mechants Association as the Retailer of the Year in Richmond. And she's also a community leader in the Richmond community and the local arts community. Whereas I mentioned earlier, Crossroads helps over 200 local artists support their passions. And I've called, just on other things, on small things, I've called her a number of times over the years, and I've got to compliment her. Not once has she ever hesitated to help in any way she could. And I'm very proud to introduce you to two-time entrepreneur host Jenni Kirby.
Thank you, Stan, and thanks all of Encorepreneur. I'm excited to be here and have you in the Crossroads Art Center. I'm going to take a few minutes and give you just a little background. I know most of you all, you're like, I know this already, but there's a few new ones that may not. So Crossroads started almost 19 years ago. It'll be 19 years in May. So that is a very long time. And when we started, my business partner, James Bassfield, was with us and as a partner, and he was with me for 9 years. And then James retired. So it has just been me and a great crew the rest of these 10 years that we've been in business. And most of you all know, but Crossroads operates a little bit differently than a normal gallery. So I'll get into the business model because I think you all are interested in that. So a normal gallery invites artists to come in and then they charge 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% commission and do all the marketing and go on their way. With Crossroads, we have a buy-in with the artists and they actually pay rent to us. And then when things sell, we do a 15% commission to Crossroads and I'm not sure where that beeping's coming from, Sam. Stan, you hear that beeping?
I do, but I don't.
Okay, there we go. It stopped. Sorry, just want to make sure I wasn't here at Crossroads and something was going on that we needed to deal with. So when things sell, we get a 15%, the artists get 85%. So that's where the difference is in the galleries. We have set up exhibition spaces and they may be something like this. This is a studio that houses 3 different artists. So you have a 3D artist in the back, Kay Franz, and then on each side, you have like Joanna Carrington. So we cater to the artists to figure out what their budget is, what they're showing. Is it 2D paintings? Is it 3D sculpture? Is it photography? Sort of what do they need? And what is their budget? And how can we work with them? So we do have 25,000 square feet and we have over 225 local artists. And probably with the shows that we have in place, we probably have almost 300 local artists that are here in Richmond. So that gives you a little bit of background on the center. The big news for us in the last year is actually coming out of 2020, 8.7% above sales in 2019, which I call miraculous, that's for sure. Because like the rest of us in April and May, we pretty much shut down, except coming in and working and allowing artists to come in, and then 10 people at a time, and then 25 people at a time, and then at half capacity, which would be 333 people, which we never had that many. The art openings for us would bring in 1,500 people, and we would do those every other month. So now we're doing those virtually. So of course, we're all masking up. We are wiping down all the surfaces 4 or 5 times a day that are high touch. And we're all just being very safe. As my crew can attest to, I have read them the riot act of, being safe, not eating in restaurants. You can eat outside a restaurant all you want. When you're visiting family or friends, if you don't know that they've been sequestered, to please wear a mask and to please watch yourself. Because with me, like with you all that have businesses like retail, if one of us gets it, then we are shut down for 15 or 20 days, because that means all of us can't come to work, which means no artist is going to make any sales. They may make sales online, but they're not going to make sales in the store. So we've been pretty strict on all of that. Speaking of sales online, we do have crossroadsartcenter.com. And that was one of the selling points for us when the pandemic started. We were already selling online, but we encouraged, and artists automatically knew at that point that if they weren't online selling, they weren't going to probably be selling. So we loaded up as many artists that wanted to join. I think we have 180, maybe right around in there online that are selling. So you can go online and you can shop online and you can buy online. What we're finding out, a lot of people start shopping online first. They may come in with their phone going, I'm looking for this piece, or they've printed it out, or they have a list of artist names that they want to come and view. So we find that a lot in this day and age, people are starting out online and then coming into the store. So I think that might answer a lot of questions of what we're seeing. I'll check my notes real quick. Most people want to know we have 4 full-time workers, 4 part-time workers as well. And the other thing that we did, which you may want to think about doing, the artists wanted to support the restaurants and the small businesses and the nonprofits that were in town. So in April, we started the small business fundraiser, where the artists actually gave us pieces or donated a portion of their sales to go to a restaurant. So it could have been a picture of Can, a painting, and we sold it. So a portion went to Can, or Cuba, or we had a lot of artists donate pieces that part of the proceeds would go to Feed More. We still have Spin, who has donated 100% of his proceeds to go to Feed More, or another nonprofit that the buyer suggests to go to. So by incorporating other businesses into our model, we were able to support them. The artists felt like they were doing something for the community, and we were doing some good. Speaking of Feed More, Ron, who also works with us, made masks, and a portion of his proceeds of the masks that are sold go back to Feed More. So we fully believe in giving back to the community and doing good. And that's just one of the ways that we do it. So I'm going to give you a tour, and I'm not sure if you guys are getting feedback on Stan's computer or not. Do you see any feedback happening?
I'm muted.
Okay, you're muted. Okay, good. But you may start to be able to hear Stan's voice or my voice through Stan's computer. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment as we walk around a little bit. So Emma, who is my Vanna today, is going to give you a tour. So we were talking about having some 3D work. This is what we are talking about. Pottery. We're talking about wood sculptures. We're talking glass work. Many of you all may be familiar with Chris Mize. These are his pieces, and this is, yes, I think you have to be over 21 to be able to buy one of these. But these are wonderful, great pieces that Chris does of the Virginia wines and spirits. We have like Tasha McKelvey. She's been featured in many high-end decorative magazines. We have Karen. Karen does wonderful mosaics, but she also does glass. And the trees, we sold probably over 700 trees for Christmas, which is really wild. And then we have ornaments. We have black and white tinted prints of photography. We have glass work. We have Mary Leitner, who has more glass work, which is over here. We have candles, we have soap. So you can see there is a variety, a very big variety of art that we have that's not just 2D, which 2D would be paintings and photography. And speaking of that, every other month we do a call for entries, and anybody can enter, and we give out awards for 2D, 3D, and photography. So that gives a little plug. You can check it on our website. We also have cards. So if you are still sending cards, which believe it or not, a lot of people are selling cards or sending cards, sending thank yous. We're getting back to actually writing as opposed to emailing. And then we have some really fun, just comical pieces. Mary Beth Eilerson, the moose, the reindeer, and this is Professor Nigel Buckminster. So she comes up with these just fabulous, wonderful names. Tom Anderson. Tom works, this is about the size that he does all the time. And they're pretty much all $250. So we sell a ton of Tom's work. It's wonderful, it's small, it's affordable. But I can also sell you a $50,000 painting if you would want one. So we have a variety, that is for sure. I'm going to walk down the hallway and I'll give you a little education as we go. These are by Martha, and these are encaustic and acrylic. So encaustic includes beeswax. So if you see a little bit of a sheen to some of these, what you're seeing is some of the beeswax that she has used in the process of creating these wonderful birds. And then I hope these come out the way I want them to come out. These are by Terry, and these are wonderful little creatures that she has created. They're absolutely adorable. So if you've got a horse lover in your life, we have a horse for you. They're just so cute. We could not keep these in stock during the holidays, not one bit. And then Dare Bowles. Some of you all may be familiar with Dare because Dare's been around quite some time. And she has shown in New York. She is known for her collages. And these are just wonderfully done, wonderfully done. And then some of you all may recognize where some of Donna Frostick's pieces are coming from. She's got a lot of the natural world, some great hiking places. And then we will make us turn. So we may have studios such as this, where we have Glenn Suttonfield, who is a photographer. His day job is an architect. And then we would have Danny Trent, who is an abstract artist. So we'll combine exhibition spaces such as this to make it interesting. And then we may actually put 3 artists who all paint in one studio as well, just to give you a variety and contrast. Jan is more abstract in the middle. Scott is definitely representational. Kim is more landscape. So we try to mix it up and see what we can do to make it interesting as you walk through the art center, because there's a lot to see. Same thing here, Mike Keeling with the abstract art and Cindy Paris. And I'm going to see if we can get up very close on Cindy's work. This is oil and clay on board. So literally this is dimensional coming off with the clay and then the oil on top. Just fabulous technique. And she has like the bunny, he'd be perfect for, Easter, the deer. So those, and then she does some abstracts as well. But what she's known for are the oils and clays that are just popping off the wall. So very, very different. Peyton Milliken is known for her pen and pencil and ink. And she has lots of scenes of Richmond. I can't tell you how many of these we sell as graduation presents, office space. all kinds of things like that. Then we've thrown Savannah in the middle, which are total abstracts, just to add another interest. Because we have found that if you have everything looking the same in a studio like this, it doesn't work as well. It works better if there's a difference between the different artists. And we do help the artists curate their space to a degree. There's some that I would like to curate a little bit more, but it just takes time. Like herding cats is how I refer to working with artists a lot of the time. Excuse me. This is very interesting. These are by John Morgan, and many of you all might recognize that name. He's a local artist. And these are pre-owned pieces. So these are pieces that people bought. Some of these I think were even bought at art auctions, like maybe 1708, which is another fabulous gallery who's getting ready to do Cabin Fever in February. So don't forget about that. There are auction then. But these are pre-owned and people are downsizing, they're moving, they just don't have room for them. So they bring them to us and we help them sell them. We don't buy them, but we help them sell them. So these are just very unique, and many of you might know Morgan.
We were asked if we could show them a piece valued at 50,000.
Oh, yes, we can. Yes, we can.
We
We can walk over there and do that. We used to have two. Now we only have one. This is Carol Meese's space. And this is wonderfully curated. So I'm going to get Emma just to come in and give you a feel of a studio that is done perfectly in my regard. It gives the calm, the serenity that she wants to have expressed. And even in the pottery that she has, that she's put in here, it gives that calming, soothing feeling. And trust me, I walk into the studio many times and take a deep breath when I need to. Other pre-owned artwork, some of you all may know John Barber. This is a $15,000 painting. So I'm not 50 yet. The other pieces around it are Eldridge Bagley. So you may know Eldridge. Eldridge has been around for quite some time. And we'll walk our way over to that $50,000 painting. Believe it or not, it is actually in our classroom because it is so large and so heavy that is the, and we can see Stan along the way. He's our guard at the gate. How are we doing, Stan, so far?
My microphone's up.
Okay, you can give me a thumbs up. Okay, so we have 3 buildings. This is building number 1. And we're going to walk into 2. And then we will walk to the $50,000 painting. You will see all different types of art all through each of the buildings. You'll see, obviously, the paintings. But then you'll find these quirky, crazy things by Kelly Johnston. Some of these are scary. And some of these are just like, what was she thinking? And how did she find all these pieces to put them together? So very interesting collage sculpture pieces. Right beside the pieces that are just more relaxed, quiet, subdued, all of that. Then I think we actually may, oh, but it was just a delivery from Remo. So over here in building 3, we took the first classroom and turned it into gallery space. So today, this is housing our all media show. And it also houses Uptown Gallery, Pauline Ney, Goulet, Berryman, and Art for the Journey, which many of you all may know Art for the Journey. They do great things. Uptown Gallery is down in Uptown, and they have a space here. But you will see all the art in the all media show, 2D, 3D, photography. We even have some lamps, very cool lamps. And we'll walk in, and this very, very large piece is our $50,000 piece that we have in currently. And this came to us in a very interesting manner. This was in Banner Express graphic designs for a very long time. The artist is Jack Woodson, and Jack got his start in Richmond. He's a Richmonder, and making posters and doing graphic design work for lots of folks. And let's see, Jack was born in 1913, and he lived here for 73 years. And this was a commission piece that he did for James Swan. And he even hand tinted the frame and the frame that goes around it. So that is our $50,000 piece of Monument Valley. It is absolutely wonderful, but it was so heavy. The only wall that we could really put this on was a concrete wall that we felt stabilized it enough. And it is 16 feet long. So there you have it. A lot of these pieces that you see in classroom 2 are all pre-owned pieces, or they are pieces that families have given us because the artist has passed away and they would like to sell them. They would like somebody to enjoy them. So many of those are have come to us by that. And we will walk back through here. And Emma's just going to sort of pan as we go, because y'all don't need to see my backside. You want to see the art. You can just sort of hear me run my mouth. So photography, sculpture, paintings, jewelry. And as she pans, we'll talk a little bit more about surviving the pandemic. So I will talk as she just shows you the work. So the pandemic, how do we do this? How do we come out and come ahead and make all of the pieces come together to stay afloat, for one thing, but to actually come out ahead of the year before? It's teamwork. It is having a dedicated team that came in every day, and we made a plan. At first, we were only in from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, and I was going out and picking up lunch so we could just keep working through it. It was brainstorming on different marketing ideas and how do we change people's mindset from needing to come in to the art center to see and buy art to actually first start the process online. And we did that. And we had a lot of support from folks out in the community that were getting on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter for us, talking about their experiences. Thanks Swan Condi for doing that. Lisa Schaffner was another one. So thank you. And then we implemented the plan, and you all responded better than I ever thought you would. So not only the artists responded, but you as a buying community. And we also know that the construction community has increased as well and is booming. And I think that all ties in together, because I think people were at home. They were trying to make their house more comfortable because they were there all the time. What can I do? I'm not traveling. I'm not going out to eat as much as I used to. I have extra money. I'm still working. I'm getting paid the same. How can I make this all work and make my home what I want it to be? And I think part of that was buying art. And we did. We had a lot of people bring us art. They're like, oh my gosh, I just inherited this from my grandmother like 20 years ago, and it's time for an upgrade. So what do I do? So they would give us that art, and then we would sell that, and they would buy something new. So speaking of new,
Do you have a couple questions?
okay, go ahead. Yeah.
One of them was asking about tours and how people can be a part of that, or any virtual tours you do, and then also asking about classes.
Okay, yeah, so virtual tours. So we do a virtual tour of the new shows every other month, and that is on the third Friday. So the next one will be the third Friday in March. But if you want a virtual tour, we do what's called a concierge service, where we will take my phone, as we have it now, and we can walk you through the art center. We can actually specifically walk you through via FaceTime, WhatsApp, or just a regular phone conversation through video of a specific artist. So we can make that happen anytime. And then the second question was classes. All our classes you can find online. We are doing classes. You saw that was a big space. We are only allowing 11 people in that room, which are 10 students and an instructor. So we are making sure everybody is 6 feet apart on the tables, so that's spaced correctly. And we have sanitizers, we're wiping down tables. So all the classes are online. Right now, I'm not sure if they're letting any new students in, but it never hurts to ask. So the teachers actually run their schedule and run their class. We are just the place that they rent the space from. So we handle that way, which is different than like the Visual Arts Center, Glen Allen. And I see Stan coming down. Anything I need to know, Stan? Okay, we'll scan a little slower. We can do that. So I hope that answers those questions. Sorry about the fast scan. It might be me walking fast. So swimming and paint gallery. This is a new gallery space for Crossroads. This is Chuck Larrabee's piece. Chuck is the coach, and what you're about to walk into are his students. So we're going to go a little bit slower. We'll start and let you see some of Bonnie's pieces. And Bonnie joins her coach every Sunday. They start at 9:30 in the morning and continue on to about 2:30. And I know Chuck right now is capped on his coaching. We also have Susan. Susan is another one of his students. And then we'll turn around. This is not one of his students, Nyla. She is from Turkey, and she just joined us with these fabulous sculptures. So we try to add in some 3D when we have a lot of 2D to add a little bit more interest. Speaking of interest, the other studio that we have in here is the Fletcher Copenhagen Fine Art. And they are collectors of American and European fine art from the 19th and 21st century. And these gentlemen are in their late 70s and 80s and have decided to retire. So they have brought us all of their, not all, this is like the tip of the iceberg, of art that they have collected through Europe and used to take to these very high-end antique shows around the country. So these are some just wonderful, fabulous etchings, paintings, watercolor, oils, acrylics, a little bit of everything. And we do have some loose ones as well, but a lot of them are framed. And then the other big change that we have is over what we used to call the sidecar gallery. We now have it as artist in residence space. So Dwayne Kreger has the left half, lots of abstracts. And then Dorothy Fagan on the right half with lots of landscapes. The interesting thing with Dorothy is that Dorothy, her pieces, some of her pieces were chosen to be in the Milan fashion show. And you may say, how was Dorothy's pieces chosen to be the Milan fashion show? They used them as backdrops for the Milan fashion show and used them as background for a lot of their print materials and things like that. So there's another way of connecting two different art forms between painting and then fashion design. So the swimming in paint, this room sort of gets you to that The other one I want to talk about is David Cressman. And we're walking towards David. David's day job is in England, and he is an accountant. You know, we all have our day job. My day job is running Crossroads Art Center, and at home, I go home and make mosaics. But these are David's pieces, and you can tell that he is drawn to Venice. This is sort of our Venice studies or works, and it's all about the light. And many times Chuck is all about the light as well. So a few more of David's. And then you sort of have the opposite of David's with Terry Lacey's. It's all about light and color, but it's bold, it's crisp, it's in your face. It's not the subtleties of David, which is just very, very interesting. The opposites. Then we have more Chuck Larrabee's, similar to David's in some aspects on light and color. And don't be afraid to ask questions as we go. So just throw them out there. And I know this is sort of overload of all that you're seeing. So you are more than welcome to come to the Art Center. Right now, our hours are Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We will expand our hours starting in February and then again in March as the day gets longer. Just absolutely breathtaking pieces. And I love it when somebody comes in, and Alex, I think you're on this phone call, and they say, we just came from the VMFA and we were told to come here, that, you know, this is the other place that we should come. That makes my heart feel so good when somebody says that, and that all of our hard work is really, really paying off.
Yeah, I think they want to see some of your mosaic works.
Oh, we can do that. That's over at the desk, so we can walk that way. House pieces are very interesting as well. And I love that he has done the black background.
Mhm.
So you can see a lot of it is also how you present.
All right, we do have a couple questions.
Okay.
Do you have any idea how many works are displayed here?
Wow.
Probably not. I know.
Yeah, I would guess. I would bet that there are maybe close to 10,000 pieces.
Yeah.
I would say that's a ballpark guess, but there's so many.
And then you want to mention our square footage, because that was asked as well.
Yep, 25,000 square feet, 10,000 in the first building, 10,000 in the second, and 5,000 in building 3, where we have the classes and the new studio space, gallery space.
Yep. And then we were also asked if there's been, I think if I read this quickly enough and well enough, it was how many like specific types of pieces we've been selling, what's been selling the most lately,
Okay.
things like that.
I'll talk as we walk on that one. So during the holidays, we sell a lot of big pieces, a lot of small pieces, and we sell a lot of dimensional pieces as gifts. So 3D jewelry, pottery, things like that. I'm going to point out Sam. Sam's a new artist to us, and these are all digital serigraphs. And he can make these in all different sizes. Landscapes. We have sold a lot of landscapes. We have sold a lot of abstract paintings. What we haven't sold until recently, we hadn't sold a lot of watercolors, but Sue Stoller and Ellie Cox, we have really sold a lot of watercolors lately. And I'll show you another, this is another mosaic artist. This is Joan Powell. And these are very interesting, so that's why I want to point these out. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of a memory jar before, but these are memory jars. And memory jars, and this is from my mosaic background, what I was told, so I'm sure there's more to the story, is that in the African-American culture and other cultures, that they would make a jar, a memory jar of the person's personal items. And they would put this on their grave. So when the spirit needed to come back and find their body, they knew which body was theirs because of the personal effects in the memory jar.
Okay.
We've
And then,
watched Jenny's video.
I'm sorry,
Oh.
I was trying to go back in the questions. We were asking about like smaller pieces we have. Does Alex Pettigrew still do woodworking? And then mention we do jewelry as well.
Yeah, we do not have any of Alex's woodworking right now. We do have some of David Bushman's and Barbara Dill. And Barbara is the lady who invented multi-axis turning. So that's really cool. So go to Barbara Dill. You can see that. And she also has a book about it if you're into wood. Yes, we do have jewelry. We definitely do. And I think Bart Levy is on the call.
He is.
This is Bart's work. So, hey, Bart, we're giving you a shout out for your work as well.
And then we did have a question if like the rental fees cover our expenses along with the 15% commission and how that works for us.
Yes. So what the rental expenses cover our basic expenses and cover some of the worker expenses, the payroll. And we can pan this way on these guys as I walk and talk. So the way I get paid is by what we sell. So the 15% is my salary. The 15%, all of it is not my salary, but I get paid from that 15%. So if we're not selling, I'm not getting paid. And of course, the workers are getting paid, but I'm the last person to get paid as we know this works and how this works. So the rental spaces can go from $330 a month for a studio space, which is pretty big, which is exactly what these guys, this size is, 2 12-foot walls and a 10-foot wall in the back. The smaller studios in building 2 go for $235 a month. A 12-foot wall like Laura is on could be $165. Back walls $110 or $130, I should say. 8-foot walls are usually about $110. So I think that might answer some of those questions. And we'll slowly walk over. And I'm going to show you just a couple more real quick, and then I'll show you mine, and I'll throw it back to Stan. So the Hathors. And these guys, Alvin and Helen, we have 3 pieces of their artwork left. They had shows at the VMFA all around Virginia, Connecticut, New York, in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And just amazing. Of course, the buffalo is not there,
No.
but the other 3 are. And we had, I think, about 13 pieces at one point altogether, and we're down to just 3. And we are selling these for the niece who lives in California. I'm going to let you focus on Kathleen Westcamper for a moment, and I will grab a couple of my pieces.
Can we also know what makes the difference between an artist in residence and other artists?
Yep. Yeah, so the artists in residence are the ones that are juried in, and everybody is juried in. They have to bring in 5 pieces. They go through a jurying process, and then they are artists in residence. And then you can be a gallery member. Anybody can be a gallery member and enter the gallery shows. And they are not juried, they are not judged, and we want everybody to participate. And that's how we nurture folks that are coming along. They may not be at the level to be able to be an artist in residence, or they may be way past it, but that is open to everyone. And that's a $50 fee for the year. And we have 2 shows now online that will be out through this year. And then we have the live show in July. So this is one of my pieces, and you can see how teeny tiny it is. And I learned and took a class in Ravenna and did this one. Very small micro mosaics. I also was asked and I was able to do the lecture on micro mosaics at the VMFA a couple years back. So you can actually find that on our website too, if you want to learn really truly about a lot of mosaics. But that's one. And then this piece, which is mammoth and heavy, was my most recent piece that I did. This was a piece of cloth that I found that my grandmother had gotten from Africa and from Senegal. So I know that there is a mystery and a story behind this, what I've been trying to find. So if anybody knows what the mystery is and the story behind the zebra, the half lady, half deer or antelope, and then the hunter, I would love to know what that story is. So that is my mosaics, lots of tiny stuff, some big stuff. This is all glass, and these are all glass as well. So that gives you an idea. I'll hand it back over to my other Vanna of the art pieces that I work on. Stan, how much longer do you think we have? I got about 10 minutes. I didn't know if we have. Okay. Stan's unmuting himself, so we'll know if there are any other questions.
Do we have, Nancy, do we have any more questions from your end?
I think one of the last ones was, and I'm not sure if you already covered it, but do folks who are artists in Central Virginia get priority here, or how does that work?
Yeah, they actually do. We only have the 225. We probably only have about 10, maybe 15 artists at the most that are just outside of Central Virginia. And some of those were actually started here and are just grandfathered in because they have moved out. But we do have folks from Northern Virginia, Tidewater, Southwest Virginia, where I grew up, a little town called Marion. And we have a few artists that are from there, but the majority are right here in Central Virginia, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. This literally is the tip of the iceberg for the artists that are in the Richmond community. It is broad and vast.
And will you also say a little bit more about Art for the Journey?
Oh, yes. So Art for the Journey. The pieces that are in Art for the Journey's booth, those pieces that sell will actually go to benefit Art for the Journey. They go into women's prisons, senior citizen homes, folks with dementia. They work with a variety of underserved folks in art. And they have found that art, as we all know, helps emotionally, helps physically, helps mentally to engage folks that might not have been engaged before. Through art, you can work out a lot of emotions, aggressions, or even love. So Art for the Journey does all of that, ergo their little hearts logo. I love that. And you can actually find more out about Art for the Journey on our website through their page. Any other questions?
Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome.
I pass it back to you, Stan.
Thank you very much, Jenny. We really appreciate it. We've gotten some great comments about the tour, and I'm sure some people would like to see things up closer. I know I would, so I'm going to stay here a while afterwards, if that's okay. Thank you again, and we appreciate for the host as well as the presentation. I would like to introduce somebody that I see is online today, a guy named Roje Fentress. Let's see if we can unmute you. Can you unmute you and say hi to us? No, say something so you'll jump up to the top of the screen. Hold on a second. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You hear me?
Yes, now I can.
How are you? How's everybody?
I don't know if everybody remembers Roje, but he was a speaker back, I believe, in July. He just had been released from paroled from prison, or I guess exonerated from prison after 24 years for a crime he didn't commit. He spoke to us about 3 weeks after he came out, and so I'm glad to see him on board. Roje, how are things going with you?
Everything is going great. The biggest accomplishment was my stepson acknowledged me as his stepfather. I got engaged. I have a career. I'm currently employed at GC Commercial as a project estimator. I was put on by the president, Mr. Adam Cretan. The staff and the guys here have welcomed me in, and they're teaching me everything like Microsoft Excel, like OSHA 30 construction, and my mother and sister, with the help of Caritas, they recently got a voucher because they were homeless. They got a voucher in order to give them a stable home. I can't wait to see what 2021 got prepared for us. But I'm staying headstrong, focused, determined on succeeding, because so many people like yourself and the people that attend this program, the help, man. Like, if I didn't have the help, I ain't no telling where I would be. Like, so one of the weirdest things I discovered when I was wrongfully convicted, my mother used to run my bath water. So I was, in prison, they got one button you push and it's hot and cold water. And I just realized that I didn't know how to run my own bath water. And I was about to call for my mother. Like, Mom, because it's either too hot or too cold, right? So in that is a lot of things I know that I have to, I have to mature. I have to, because in so many ways I'm still a 16-year-old trapped in an adult, because there's a lot of things that I've never done for myself that I have to do now. And by the grace of God, I've had a whole lot of help. And I think I got like the brother was talking about earlier today. I think I got my vaccine a little, because I'm. Thank you.
Thank you, Roje.
That helped me, my family. Thank you, and me being, this is my card right here too. So if I could send you a virtual card, right? Yes. Your project estimator. Yes. GC Commercial.
Well, folks, I'll tell you, this man went in jail when he was 14, 16, 14, and got out when he was about nearly 40. And I have never met, especially through this pandemic, I've never met a man more positive than he is. So congratulations from all of us.
This is my pride and joy right here. This hat, right?
Right.
Look, I spend my mornings picking up poo, tending the hat. Like, this is our baby. This is our mascot. Like, Adam is into the SPCA thing, real heavy thing. She's a rescue, and like, one time he had over like 19 animals on his property.
Oh my God.
And then, like, that just speaks to the caliber of the man he is. And like the sister was saying earlier today about the art business being fruitful right now, and the construction being fruitful as well. I see, man, like, just to take me on projects, I went to one site and I was able to get a full estimate about what they wanted us to do and how they wanted us to do it. It was very professional, and I was I love it, man. I love it.
Well,
every moment.
Thank you again. We'll have you back periodically and hear how things are going with you.
Next
Great.
thing, I'm going to give me a house. My credit score 653. I think I'm going to give me a house in Williamsburg. That's what it feel like. That's the next goal. So
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, we're going to wrap up now. We got about 2 minutes till 9. Our next meeting is going to be as a break with tradition. We always go a month, and now this time we're going to go 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, we will have Abigail Spanberger is going to come back after she was here 2 years ago to tell us what it was like for her first month in Congress. And she's coming back to tell us what it was like to be on the floor of the Capitol 3 weeks ago under siege, and trying to use her training from the CIA and law enforcement to reassure and take care of some of the other people in Congress. She's going to tell us about that experience and about what is going on in those lines. So it's not a political thing. It's a congressman meeting. So she'll be here in 2 weeks. We'll get some information out about that today or tomorrow, but you can register on the site today. So it's no details, but it'll be there. So well, thank you everyone. I hope you enjoyed our tour, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you one more time. So long, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care, all.
Same to you. See you soon.